welcome back to Just Another Crochet Along. Our stitch this week is going to be Granny Spike stitch. And you can see here I'm doing it every 2 rows. I was changing color. It's a really fast stitch to work up. These long parts are just made with long double crochets, and it creates a really fun ripple effect. This is, like I said, in 2 rows. Some people do it in 1 row, so then you just get little colors like that. It's also really pretty if you do it in just 1 color. So I will go ahead, and so this is in my Karen 1 pound. I've got 4 different colors going here. But for the sample today, just to make it a little bit easier to see, I'm going to be using my my sugar and cream, some yarn that I have had around for a little bit. This is the Cafe Brown, or sorry, the Warm Brown. And what you're going to want to do to start off is I have a row of single crochet down here at the bottom, and that really helped me get the count going right. So in order to get that single crochet row at the bottom, we're going to do a chain of 31, and then you're going to skip 1 stitch and go into the next hole, and you're going to crochet 29 single crochets. So I'm almost done with my first row here. So we're going to do 29 single crochets, and I will meet you at the other side. So you can see here we've got our row of 30 single crochets. So now I'm just going to turn my work, and I'm going to do a chainless standing double crochet. So the way that we do that is we're going to pull up our yarn to the height of a double crochet. Then we're going to wrap it around. Oops, I got stuck on my edge there. So that it looks like you have 1 yarn over. Then you're going to place into the base here, yarn over, pull through. So now it looks like we have 3, and you pull through 2, and then you can let go of that tension and pull through the next 2. I'll go ahead and leave a link in my comments on the Moogly Blog's description of the chainless standing double crochet. She's done a great job with that, and that's the easiest tutorial I've been able to find on that. But I really like the way that it makes the edges super straight and there's no gaps or anything like that. Okay, so now that we've got that, we're going to do 2 double crochets. Sorry, I'm fighting with my yarn here. We're going to do 2 double crochets. So this is a granny stitch, and I'm sure most of you have probably done grannies before. So it's a variation on the granny stitch, I should say. So it's going to have the kind of like the repetition of 3. So now we've got, if you count this chainless standing double crochet, we've got 3 double crochets here, and then we're going to yarn over and leave a gap, which will be where this green is coming down in here. So we're going to, and then we're going to skip a space down here on the bottom as well. And then we're going to do 3 here, 3 double crochets. Oops. Like I said, I've used this yarn quite a few times, so it does split a little bit just because I've used it so much. I really do love this yarn though. All right, so then we do 3 and a chain, and we skip a space and then go all the way across. Oops. So if you want to go ahead and finish that out, I will meet you at the other side. So when you get to the point where you have 3 stitches left, go ahead and wait for me, and I will see you in just a second. Okay, so now we're at the end of the row, and we have 3 spaces left. So that's not enough to repeat our pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and then skip that 1 space, and then we're going to do just 2 double crochets into the end here, okay? And 2. Let me finish this off, and then I will zoom out. So this is what the whole row is going to look like. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 repetitions with the 3, and then we do have the 2 at the end, and that's so that we're reaching the 30 for our crochet along. So if you're not trying to reach the 30 stitches for your crochet along, then hopefully you'll have a full set of 3 at the end here, but we didn't want to have you know, the wrong number for the crochet along, so to match up. So like the gauge here might be a little bit different just because this is a cotton. But after you finish row 2, go ahead and check your, what I did at row 2 was to check, let me see if I have another square here, to check that row against one of our other rows. So this is our star stitch row. So you can see here that that is lining up pretty well. So I'm using the 3.75, but you might need to use the 4. And remember, you don't have to copy the hook size I'm using. It's just a suggestion, but that's just to make it so that our gauges match. So after row 2 would be the point when I would choose to check your gauge. So now I'm gonna just, I'm not gonna cut this off, but normally we would cut there. But I'm gonna save yarn because we're in quarantine, so who knows when I can shop again. And I'm gonna grab my next yarn here. Okay, so now I'm just gonna switch colors. So I'm just not even gonna tie that off. I'm just gonna go ahead and chain 3. So if you're not switching colors at this point, you can just do your chainless knitting double crochet. And then we're gonna turn. And we're gonna chain 1 extra for what would be the space normally. And then we're gonna do our first spike cluster into this. So what we're gonna do is 1 double crochet into the space that's created by the chain space. So 1, 2, 3, we're gonna do the double crochet. And now we're gonna do our first long double crochet. And you can see here we've got that one space that's standing alone. So we're gonna crochet into there. And in order to make it tall, just pull it up to the height there. And then we're gonna pull through. And then we're gonna do another double crochet into that same space created by the chain from row 2. Oops, I pulled through too far. Let's try that again. There you go. So now you can see our first cluster. So we've got that long double crochet that creates that chain, which is going to make the spike looking part right there. And then we chain 1, and let's go ahead and do that again. So a double crochet, oops, sorry, double crochet, then we'll do the long double crochet into that space down below. And in order to do that long crochet, we're just going to pull extra yarn out. There we go. And then we'll do another double crochet here, back into that same spot. And then chain 1. And I'll do that cluster with you one more time. So we're going to yarn over, place in through the chain, do our double crochet, then we'll do the long double crochet. Before I go in, you can see that space there. Yarn over, pull it up. And that's how we're creating that long. Okay, so go ahead and repeat that 1, 2, 3 more times, and I'll meet you down at the other side. Now we've got to the edge of the row, and I just have 3 spaces left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to put a half double crochet in the top of my turning chainless knitting double crochet there. So a half double crochet is to yarn over once, place it through the loops, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over, pull 3. So that's going to be taller than a single crochet but shorter than a double crochet, and that just keeps our height consistent because we're dropping those DCs down below the chains. So there you can see the end of our first row with the granny clusters, or with the spike clusters. And now we're going to go ahead and turn our work, and then we're going to do another chainless knitting double crochet. So we pull that to the height of a double crochet, we wrap it around, place it in the hole, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and count this as, let me show you here. We're going to count that as the edge of our granny cluster. Then we're going to do a long DC and then another DC. So let's go ahead right here. Oops, my yarn got wrapped there. Okay, so sorry about my kids. They're just having fun. So we're going to go into that top of the middle. We'll do the long double crochet there. and then a long double crochet here. So that'll be our first cluster. We're going to chain 1. And let's go ahead and do another cluster just because it's different now that we're on top of the other set of 3. So we're going to do a double crochet. Let me pull some slack, sorry. A long double crochet into the top. So you see the 3 here? We're going to go into the top of the middle one. And pull that up so that it's long. Put another double crochet in there. It's okay, Robbie, please go away. All right, so there you can see, and we're just going to continue that all the way across, and I'll meet you at the other side. Okay, so now I've gone ahead and finished up the top of row 4. Sorry about that interruption. We are self-isolating at home, so my boys are both here, and it's raining outside, so they can't go outside, so I'm not getting much quiet time in order to film some videos, but that's okay. So now we've reached the end here, so we've got just this last space, and because we're trying to get to 30, we have the 2 extra stitches that we need to account for. So I'm going to put 1 double crochet into the chain space, and then we're just going to do a half double crochet into the top of the chain in order to give us that border. Okay, so if you're doing 2 color rows, you can change now. I'll just go ahead and continue with this. So this row, we are now going to be repeating row 3. So I'll go ahead and do that with you one more time just to make sure that you guys are okay. So we're going to pull that to the height of a chainless knitting double crochet. Wrap it around, place it in there, yarn over, pull through the base, then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, let go of that tension, and yarn over, pull through the last 2. Okay, and then we're going to chain 1. So you can see kind of the top of my chainless knitting double crochet. It looks like the top of a normal stitch, and then we have that extra chain 1 off the top, which is going to account for this space here where the granny clusters would normally be ending. So we're going to go ahead and do a granny cluster here, or the spike cluster here. 1, the long double crochet, and the end. Double crochet. So there we have another granny spike cluster and a chain 1. So that's how our edges are going to go. So what you're going to do from here on out is repeat rows 3 and then row 4. So this is a repetition of row 3, and then we'll go back up. I want to do, I was suggested by one of my pattern testers, a great idea. So you can see at the top here, we have these gaps, and that's going to be the top of our square. So when you get to the top, I'll join you for that last square so we can do a little bit of a change up. When I did it, in order to reach the height of my other squares, I needed 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 rows. One of my pattern testers needed 18 rows. So you can see here, just go ahead and check your gauge and see how many rows you need. So I am going to reiterate the fact that it doesn't have to be exactly like mine as long as your squares are the same size. So when you get to the point when you just need 1 row in the top of your square, come back to the video. What we're going to do is to pretend that you are at the same height as the top of the last row of your square. And what we're going to do, instead of placing the chains between our granny spike clusters, what we're going to do is we're going to place half double crochets. So here is where I will take out this chain. So I'm on a 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm on a repetition of row 3. So that starts out with a chainless knitting double crochet. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a half double crochet here. And then I'm going to go ahead with the granny cluster, the granny spike cluster. So it's the double crochet, the spike or the long double crochet. Oops. And then the third double crochet. And then normally after the end of the cluster you would chain, but since this is our last row and we want it to be solid, we're just gonna do double crochet, half double crochets everywhere that we would have done a chain before. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna make it so that we don't have these holes in the top of our swatch, our sample square, for our sample blanket. So let me do that one more time with you. We have the double crochet. Oops. And normally we would do a chain here, but instead we're just going to do a half double crochet. One, and pull all the way through. So you can see there how we're getting, we're still getting the effect of having the long spikes from the clusters, but we're also sealing that hole so that the top of our square is better. So that is the end of our tutorial. I hope that the granny spike stitch is something that you can use. I found it very easy. I found that it works up very quickly. If you have any questions or any comments, please don't feel free to drop those down below. Also, please join our Facebook group so that you can follow along with us and share your results. A really big thank you again to Gail and Ashley for checking out or for doing pattern testing for me. And I hope to see you next week. I also will have all of my links to my Instagram, Reddit, Tumblr, TikTok in the description, so check it out if you want to. If anybody asks where I am, until next time, just tell them she's stitching.